We are back with the 4th episode of Real Talk.
Another episode, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I feel like we've rebooted Real Talk.
We've done well. We've gone week by week. I think people are starting to like our faces a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I like watching your face, so I can only understand what these people are thinking.
I like that.
There we go. And we have an interesting show today. We've got some movie reviews. We've got I saw Overlord on Monday, so we have a sneak little review for that. Today. We have some fun news for you guys, and we're going to talk about Widows, which is going to come out next week. Give you guys a little bit of a hint of that. Should we go straight into it then?
Let's go straight into it. So, okay. Damian, you saw Overlord, which actually comes out this weekend.
Yeah, it comes out on Friday. Comes off the heels of Halloween this season. And it's directed by Julius Avery, produced by the great J.J. Abrams. And it has Javen Adepo, I can't really say his name properly, and Pilio Aspect, who plays Euron Greyjoy. If any of you Game of Thrones fans are out there, he's basically the douchebag Lannister in that. And he is very villainous in this movie as well. It's basically a World War II movie featuring zombies, Americans versus Nazis. That's all you got to know going into it. It's about this group of 4 military men who are being dropped off on D-Day. And they go into France, they go into this little village. They have one objective, which is to destroy this church, which has a beacon going up, which is interfering with all American communication. And it just so happens that in the basement of this place are some zombies. Right? And
naturally.
Yeah, well, the military men know there's something funny going on. They meet a French woman, stay in her house. I'm just trying not to give too much of the plot here, because I think the trailers do a really good job of not giving too much of the mystery away. You know, keeping in the vein of
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, he likes having that mystery box, doesn't he? You don't know what's inside, but you're interested in everything else around it, right? And although I am a massive fan of what J.J. Abrams has done in the past, whether it's production or directing, I'm not the biggest fan of this film.
Really?
And I was looking forward to it. What I kind of expected was a Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies, fun, action kind of vibe. I was hoping just to have a dumb smile on my face.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for too.
I had really no fun watching this movie. It was actually a bit of a struggle halfway through. Trying to connect with these characters is almost impossible. There's a brilliant actor. I think this guy, Rupert Wyatt, has a great future. He plays kind of this PTSD soldier who's struggling with having these memories of war in Italy before going to France. And they try to really invoke this emotion in this character, as if you don't know what this guy's been through, but there's something dark about him. Then you're trying to connect to him, but these characters, I feel, have no chemistry. And there's a standout role, I can't remember the actor's name, he's the New York small guy, he's got a funny little mustache. And even the comedic elements of the movie really try and invoke some fun nature into the film, give it some life, and there's just nothing there. The zombies aren't even that prevalent in the movie. Not really. Wow. There's probably about maybe 15-20 minutes of screen time. That's being very generous of zombies. Not much action at all.
That's probably longer than 2014 Godzilla.
No, it is. And I think in some ways, even though there wasn't that much action in Godzilla, what I will praise a movie like that is that the scope, it was building up towards something.
Yeah.
You're watching it, you're trying to get invested because you're thinking, okay, this is all going to build up towards a certain ending, to a certain action piece. And
it was a franchise builder as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so you know you're going to see more of that character.
And with this, I feel like they showed all the best action scenes in the trailer, which you haven't seen the trailers, have you?
But it's never a good sign, is it?
It's never a good sign. And, you know, like I said, it looked like it was building towards a fun ending. It never was able to fulfill a promise that I had, which is, look, you're going to get a nice World War II, Americans versus Nazis, and some zombies here and there. The action was very poorly shot. Some of the zombies look like those weird trolls from Lord of the Rings. So when you have your zombies looking like orcs and trolls, you kind of know that you're not really making the best.
Right.
And they tried. I will applaud J.J. Abrams, because I think it was his story that it was originally, and then he handed it off to the director and the writers team. The issue is, overall, from what the trailers tried to promise us, from what the story was building to, I felt like it was a boring slug of a movie. And for a zombie movie, you want some fun. You want some action as well. You just aren't able to have any of those things. So sadly, I can't recommend anyone to go watch it. If you have seen it, because this is being published hopefully on the Friday or the Monday.
Tomorrow.
I'm not sure. Is it tomorrow? Yeah.
It's going to go up on
Friday. And so let us know if you've seen it on opening day. Because I'm happy if you liked it and I didn't.
Yeah.
My dad actually saw it with me.
And did he enjoy
liked it? He liked it.
Okay.
And so I might be in the minority. I just thought personally it wasn't able to fulfill the
expectations
that it's not even that I had. I felt like it was trying to evoke the movie.
Yeah.
And so I can't recommend it. But you, on the other hand, you saw The Night Comes for Us, which is on Netflix, correct?
It's on Netflix around the world, not just in UK. It's a Netflix original. And the reason why I was so hyped for this film is because every time we discuss action films, I think the bar has been set in recent years by Gareth Evans' The Raid films. And Gareth Evans is a guy we're going to speak about later as well.
Sure.
But this reunites the two lead actors from the first film, because Joe Taslim wasn't in the second film, but Iko Uwais was the face of that franchise. So the plot of this film is very simple. Joe Taslim is the face of this potential series. It could break out into a franchise of itself. We'll wait to see that. It is a very successful film. So Joe Taslim is part of a triad gang, an offshoot of that gang called the Six Seas, and they basically make sure everything runs efficiently alongside the drug trafficking, the human trafficking. They're making sure that nothing slips under the radar, that nothing goes towards the police.
Sure.
And their methods are brutal, disgusting, horrible, and you can tell in the opening scene that he's very torn about doing his job, because he's essentially a hitman with no pulse, no emotion towards his fellow
just a
human
stone
beings.
rock guy.
But it's exactly. He's essentially like the opening of this film. This reminded me when John Boyega turned into a good guy in Force Awakens, because he sees
the character transformation,
and it is as soon as that happened in that film as well. It's the opening scene. He sees it. He's forced to slaughter a family. He doesn't pull the trigger, much like John Boyega did in Force Awakens. And he sees a young girl, and then spoiler alert. Well, not really a spoiler alert, because this is the basis of that story.
This is part of the story. This is what develops.
He interferes and goes against the triad and saves this little girl. That ensues a massive chase across the city of Jakarta, I believe, because it's an Indonesian-based film, so if I am wrong, I apologise. But somewhere in Indonesia, and it's beautifully shot, by the way, reminds me of the sort of lighting and vibe of Only God Forgives.
Okay, yes.
That sort of
neon
lit
colours. I know exactly what you mean.
Neon lit with the backdrop of an Asian city is just something beautiful.
It's very vibrant. Does it seem lively?
Yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to see. But what isn't beautiful, or depending on what your tastes are, is the absolute carnage of action that ensues after it. So the triad goes after Joe Taslim's character, and Joe Taslim was once friends with Iko Uwais' character. Iko Uwais' character is hired by the triads, and he's sort of in two minds as to whether to go up against his former friend. You'll find out what happens when you watch the movie, but oh my god.
How's
if
the
you
action?
Enjoyed the action in The Raid, this is like The Raid times 100. If you thought John Wick was brutal, that is like watching CBBS.
Yeah.
It's
buckle up, Buttercup. We're going crazy with this one.
I don't want to spoil any set pieces, but just think about the worst ways you could injure a fellow human being.
And then times that by 10.
And that happens in the movie.
I mean, I'm already getting pain in some areas thinking about what happens.
The way the fight scenes are choreographed is insane. The way that certain characters are like made to stand out. You remember in Raid 2 when they had like certain characters holding weapons and certain clothes to make them stand out visually?
Sure, no, there's like one guy with a baseball bat, one guy with a crowbar, and then there was that weird kitchen scene where they got the weird knives. I don't know what was going on.
So they all have like specified looks to make them stand out, and really cool like intricacies about them. I'm not going to go into what they are, but you'll know. Sure. That's basically all I can say about the film. It is a non-stop thrill ride. In terms of, you're inevitably going to ask me if it matches up to Fallout.
Yeah.
but I don't think you can compare those two movies because
They're two different action movies, aren't they?
Exactly.
One's mixed martial arts, one is more theatrical, cinematic,
Exactly.
and one has Tom Cruise, so you can tell which one I probably prefer.
I know.
I like my Tom Cruise, I'm not gonna lie.
But it is a film that you should definitely check out, Damian.
Okay.
And, you know, it is all subtitled, but I forgot I was reading subtitles because I was actually so invested in the story as well. I've not even mentioned about how great the story actually was. The acting was brilliant. The script was as good as it should be for a film like this. You know, we're not expecting anything by the likes of Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese here.
Sure.
It does the job. Everyone does the job. The choreographed fight scenes are absolutely incredible. I had an absolute blast.
We get some blood and violence as well, which makes everything better.
Some is the understatement.
That's alright. So overall, you liked it then, yeah?
I'd give it a 9 out of 10.
There we go. I like this. Very high. Now, you sound like you enjoyed that more than Overlord. And I'm going to tell you a movie that I think it's been out for a week and a half. You haven't got a chance to see Bohemian Rhapsody, have you? This is a film where it's Freddie Mercury and Queen. Freddie Mercury is played by Rami Malek, and I guarantee you he is going to get an Oscar nomination. Whether or not he'll win is another story. He's going to be going up against tough competition, including the likes of Bradley Cooper.
I hope so.
And we've got an incredible story, I think, of Queen, and more importantly, a great a character story, a character story of the great Freddie Mercury. It invokes a lot of emotions. It tells a story of really these unlikely characters coming together who are basically outcasts in every sense. You know, it opens up with Freddie Mercury having this great talent with his voice. And if you've ever heard Queen or Freddie Mercury before, you know there is almost nothing like that voice out there in the world.
Definitely.
One of the struggles that we see with these characters, that Freddie Mercury has this problem with his face. His teeth stick out. His face is obviously non-symmetrical. These other characters, we start to learn why they're outcasts. Why aren't these guys popular with certain... And they all come together and they make great music. We learn their humble beginnings to their great ending. It ends at the Wembley Live Aid, which is
it looks amazing.
An incredible 20-piece sequence that I honestly was tearing up for.
Wow!
And because when you're watching this whole entire movie, you're understanding the struggles Freddie Mercury had with his bandmates. You understand why do these songs matter to these people? Why do they still resonate to this day? And you know, they go through, for instance, how Bohemian Rhapsody is made, which is arguably the greatest song of all time, in my opinion. There's a lot of other great songs, but I think objectively you can say that maybe it is up there, because everyone knows Bohemian Rhapsody. But they go through the struggle of trying to get it through the record label, and the record label producer says, look, in 20 years, nobody's going to be listening to the song. And funny fact, on Spotify, this Bohemian Rhapsody's gone over 40 million streams in the past 3 weeks because
I'm not
of this
surprised
film.
by that.
And so it shows how popular their music is to this day.
Yeah.
Bryan Singer directs this movie. In fact, he had troubles towards the end. In January, he's actually kicked off the project, and one of his assistant producers stepped in. And although the story is very compelling, it's very interesting, almost... Some of the direction, it feels like there's a bit of out of sync with the pacing. It feels like there's sometimes when they linger a little bit too long on a certain story element, and you're like, okay, let's get the train rolling again. We've seen enough of this same thing with Freddie Mercury. They almost linger in a bit too much on his personal life. They feel like they're kind of being a dead horse at this point. And it's really interesting to see how, even back in the 1970s and 1980s, to see how some of these problems, you know, with the LGBT community, how it's struggling back then, how it's struggling today. I think it's a really good story about really overcoming your obstacles, overcoming your, well, if you're an outcast, you would really appreciate this movie. I've struggled before with that kind of stuff before, not feeling like you're fitting in. And seeing the way that Rami Malek was able to portray Freddie Mercury, what he did, I honestly think there was nobody else who could have done the role better. And on top of that, he looks like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, I don't know what
is a tough ask as well.
Yeah, I don't know what he did for his teeth, but those teeth, they look like Freddie Mercury. They were sticking out all right, and he was brilliant. The only thing I would really say is, if you are not a big fan of Queen, I don't see this movie really pushing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, if you're going into this movie not a big fan of Queen, don't really go in expecting your mind to be changed about the group.
Do you think film, like cinephiles who aren't fans of Queen, aren't going to like this as a cinematic experience?
Well, here's the thing. Musically, if you're not into it, you're just not into it, right?
Yeah.
But theatrically, story-wise, it will draw you in no matter what.
Okay.
So I will say, and especially, the performance is great by Rami Malek. Like I said,
it's universally acclaimed at this point, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, if anyone has a good thing to say about Bohemian Rhapsody, it's always that Freddie Mercury is basically born again in this movie. And so I really recommend it for you guys. It's probably in my top 5 movies of the year. Probably breaking that number 5 spot for me, maybe. It's incredible. Make sure you guys go check it out. And now you saw Apostle. We'll carry on with
this
the
is
reviews.
the last review.
Last one.
Is it the last review?
Yeah, it's the last one. Apostle, lead us in, bro. What we got going on
Right,
here?
so basically what to conclude from Apostle is Gareth Evans is one sick and twisted man. So Gareth Evans, as I mentioned before, is the director of the first 2 Raid movies.
Yep.
He's a Welsh director, so it's a pretty odd career starter to begin your career in a foreign language film, an Indonesian martial arts film. So this is set closer to home. I think it's the 18th century, so it's obviously quite a while back. It's not like it happened last week, alright?
No, you see these guys, you're like, nah, that's my next door neighbor. You're not thinking that.
So it takes place on this island near, like on the British Isles. It's not specified where this is. But basically, it begins very hectic with Dan Stevens in an emotional wreck that his sister has been taken hostage by this weird cult on this island off mainland Britain. So he's got to find a way of sneaking onto this island and retrieving his sister. Now, there's a lot of mystery surrounding this film. Like, hardly anything got leaked about who these people are that have taken away Dan Stevens' sister, what their practices are, and why they have to steal someone in the first place. And you as an audience member are slowly discovering things as Dan Stevens' character is, which is awesome. I love that because you feel like a character within that film.
You're learning along with the actual main character.
That's one of my
favourite
favourite
Dan Stevens,
features.
he's the main actor, he is the apostle, I'm assuming. There is an apostle in this movie, right?
You have to define... I'm going to embarrass myself here. What the hell does apostle mean?
Honestly, I just know the apostle of Jesus Christ, like the followers, and
right.
that is a thing in this movie. It's not like some metaphor. There's an apostle here, yeah?
No, you're not going to guess, and the audience aren't going to guess who the apostle is or what the apostle is. No.
We're just going to find out. But overall, you recommend it, though.
Listen,
what are you saying
this
about
film, if you think that you have any idea of where it's going...
You're wrong.
You are wrong. It is one of the weirdest, most... it's not confusing one. It's one of those films you have to go and read one of those Apostle Ending Explained articles.
Sure.
You know, it's... I don't spoon-feed the audience what everything means. But, one of the negatives I have about this film is... The biggest positive from the film, as I said, is the fact that you're unravelling the mystery with Dan Stevens.
Sure.
And it's a very slow-paced, but really intriguing story.
Okay.
So even though it is slow-paced, you're always invested in what's going on. You have to pay attention to every last detail. Then the pace really starts to escalate, and a lot of different characters and different side stories are crammed into the last hour, where it's just overload. Whereas it was focused on the one scenario of retrieving his sister, a bunch of other stories get thrown in, like, that have nothing to do with that, and within the realms of what you'd expect to happen in that society and in that world. It just felt a bit like there was a lot of pacing issues in the final.
A little bit as well.
I had a good time with it.
Okay.
It's very emotionally draining. It's visually horrifying. There's a scene of a lobotomy taking place, and you see it from the back of the guy's head's perspective, and I really, really hate... You know when we watched Reanimator and they took the back of the guy's skull? Like, I'm really good with gore. I feel like I'm getting worse with age now. Anything with the skull, I can't deal with.
You kind of like start touching, you get a bit itchy, don't you?
Yeah,
I feel it. When I see someone's head
we all have them.
No, I know, we all have heads. I hope you do. If you don't,
if you don't, you're not watching this.
So go see a doctor if you don't have a head right now. But
can't see the doctor if you don't have a head.
I don't even know what you're doing right now. But I am going to be looking forward to that, because Gareth Evans, I want to see his development as a director.
Yeah, because there are a lot of horrifying elements in the Raid in terms of the gore used and stuff like that. And the fight choreography goes across to Apostle for a few scenes as well. You get to see some really interesting fights. Nothing like the same nature.
Right, it's a different movie altogether,
exactly,
isn't it?
But you can tell that he really knows how to stage a fight sequence in a film.
Well, good. I'm going to be... It's on Netflix, correct?
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
2 Netflix originals I just recommended.
We'll watch that right then. We've also got The Outlaw King, which comes out tomorrow. Well, today if you're watching it. Yeah, Outlaw King with Chris Pine.
Okay.
So we'll have that review for next week as well.
For next week, yeah, definitely.
So if we get into some movie news then,
yes.
We've got some really out there movie news today. We live in a world where reboots are happening left, right, centre.
Bro,
unnecessary
let's just start
sequels.
with that one. Let's just start with it.
Gladiator. Oh wait, are we gonna start with Shrek?
We're gonna start with Shrek.
Honestly, who's come up with this idea?
Is that the angriest you've been all week?
No, I'm the second angriest. We'll get into the other one. Oh no, we'll get into the other one in a second because you'll be able to tell. Who is calling for another Shrek movie?
Oh, and I like the fact that all the articles are saying Shrek is being rebooted, and then it says and Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
Like anyone cared about the first.
It was
Puss
already
in Boots
bad
movie.
enough with Shrek, and now you're adding Puss in Boots. So it's not really a reboot in the sense of it being remade. It's just a continuation of the story from before, which makes me ask why. We've had 6 Shrek movies at this point.
Yeah,
Puss in Boots. Shrek 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me.
Did they do a Puss in Boots sequel?
No, they didn't. So we've had 5, not 6. They did a Puss in Boots TV show, which
they did a Shrek TV show for a bit.
Who asked for any of those?
No.
But I think the reason why it's getting a bit interesting at the moment is because Despicable Me creator and the Illumination director is coming in now.
That's the only thing that I can cling on to.
So we'll see.
You know, with an animation reboot or any kind of reboot, there is going to be the idea of changing the look of the character for a new audience.
Yeah.
That incarnation of Shrek is perfect. Mike Myers is perfect.
Hey, what are you going to do?
I keep getting Mike and Michael Myers mixed
up. Mike Myers. You've
Myers.
seen Halloween, mate. That's going to mess you up forever.
Exactly.
I mean, are you going to change Shrek from green to orange? Are you going to turn him into purple? Are you going to make him Thanos 2.0?
Don't do that.
You can't. I don't. My big issue with it, I'm not mad, I'm interested, let's see something. My biggest thing is...
We'll all go and watch it.
Yeah,
everyone's going to watch it,
I'll be first in line to watch it, if I'm honest, probably. I just want to see something that actually seems necessary. Like, where can he take this character that he hasn't already been before?
As much as we are ranting about this, Illumination Entertainment, that's the Despicable Me creators, that is something that really does intrigue me.
They've got the Grinch coming out. They've got the Grinch coming out tomorrow as well.
They're a part of the Grinch.
Yeah, the Grinch is Illumination.
I might have to go and watch that now. That wasn't even on my radar, to be honest.
No, Benedict Cumberbatch, the Batch of Cumber, he's in the Grinch. So we'll see what comes of that. So the thing that made me the most angry in the past week of movie news, Jamal, and we're talking about unnecessary sequels.
Yeah.
We're talking about things that make me mad. Gladiator 2.
I couldn't believe it when I read that.
Why?
And Ridley Scott wants to direct it as well. I feel like Ridley Scott's just trying to erase any greatness he had in his early start of his career.
I have no idea. I mean, it's supposed to... Isn't it Lucius's nephew or something from Gladiator? I still think they don't even know what the story
is Russell Crowe going to return?
Russell Crowe's not going to be in it, as far as I'm aware. So why is it called Gladiator? Is there going to be a Gladiator?
They just want to make money from that
I
franchise's
don't even know.
name.
Would you even be able to make much money? I mean... People who are like 18 to 22 right now, do you think all of them have seen Gladiator? I mean, I just don't see
It's probably one of those films that their parents go, you know, you should watch that. It's a classic. Like, obviously, me and you have watched it because we're absolute nerds.
Yeah, of course. So we're cinephiles. This is our job at the moment.
Exactly.
We've got to do it. But I mean, my biggest thing right now is, where do you take the story to make it interesting today? And first of all, Gladiator 1 wasn't even historically correct. So I have no idea how you can make the second one even factual in the slightest.
What you're going to be angry about is that a direct sequel was initially pitched. Did you know what that was about? It was going to be about Russell Crowe's character in the underworld, which would have been absolutely dreadful. That would have just
we thought it was bad enough that we're getting
everything that was great about the original.
That's what I'm saying right now. I feel like it takes away any cool factor from the first Gladiator.
But like we're saying about Shrek, I know we don't want to compare Shrek and Gladiator, but they're both classics in their own right.
And we are going to watch Gladiator 2 on the first day, no matter what.
Because we're just in love with cinema.
And I am in love with Ridley Scott's films for the most part, bar
I feel like
Alien Covenant and
his recent choices.
Martian.
Did you see All the Money in the World? Was that what it was called?
Yeah, All the Money in the World. Kevin Spacey was booed off, yeah?
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer did a good job on that.
I didn't like The Martian, man. I didn't like it.
We are not talking about this. Talking about things that are making me mad.
I didn't like it.
That would make me mad. But Gladiator 2, we'll see where it goes. I'm not the biggest fan. I know you're not either.
If it happens, it might just be one of those things like...
It's spat off, and then they don't even know... I don't think they know where they're going with the story.
Yeah.
I think they said, hey, Gladiator 2, have we made a sequel for that yet? No? Cool, let's do it. I had no thought.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But moving on with movie news, we've got some Game of Thrones news. Do you want to lead it in?
So, the Game of Thrones prequel... Has the title been announced?
No, in fact, George R. R. Martin has come out yesterday, I believe, saying that the title for the pilot episode and for the show in general hasn't even been announced
so that
yet.
was just all...
Yeah, that was just all... I think people just like to throw off stuff. If they have Game of Thrones in the title, then it's going to get clicks, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, Game of Thrones prequel.
We have the first casting for it. Do you want to...
Yeah, we have Naomi Watts, who's previously been in King Kong. She was also... in, what was that horror movie where she's holding a lamp?
The Others.
The Others.
She was a really big star in the early 2000s.
Yep.
Hasn't done anything massive lately. And if she has, then she hasn't been a lead
No.
actress
I think she's almost always been a supporting actress since King Kong days.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this show. I'm not in love with it because I feel like we're getting oversaturated with a bunch of different content from shows. So we've got like the sequel show to Walking Dead coming out. We've got a sequel show.
I think we should talk about the Walking Dead as well.
We'll talk about that as well. But also Game of Thrones, I feel like there's so much content being pushed out. I feel like it's just taking away the cool factor from Game of Thrones. It feels like, what else are we going to get that we don't know?
Here's why I think it is a good idea, right? With the idea of oversaturation, which is very much prevalent, I think it's going to be prevalent with The Walking Dead especially, just because...
Yeah.
People have openly said how they're done with that show.
Yeah.
The zombie genre has been oversaturated now after the renaissance that was brought upon by 28 Days Later. But the reason why I believe that this is a good idea, as along with Star Wars, is because the mythology is so massive. There are so many different areas of, like within Star Wars' world, the galaxies, the time periods. Game of Thrones, there's so many different time periods where you can go away from Westeros, go to different areas of Westeros.
We can see what incest is like 20,000 years ago, and in the future.
When you say it like that.
Yeah, you're not as interested now, are you? Jamie Lannister and Cersei were looking at you.
Yeah, I know.
Weirdos.
But there probably is going to be some incest. There will be. There will be some incest.
Some weird, like...
Because it was just normal. It was just normal over there.
Well, it's Game of Thrones. Like they're gonna have to have something messed
Probably
up.
save incest talk for another day.
Well, we'll find out. We'll watch the show and then we'll come to.
We can all agree that it's disgusting, all right?
And then we'll look back at this episode in the future and be like, Damian and Jamal called it from back then. Do that. But I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for it. So the final piece of news we have, it actually dropped this morning. Kingsman 3, Taron Egerton, not gonna be a part of it. And I think Taron Egerton, who plays
Is it Egerton or Edgerton?
It might be Edgerton.
I don't know.
Edgerton?
I thought it was Edgerton.
We'll say Edgerton.
All right.
We'll say Edgerton. Taron Egerton.
Sorry if I'm
It's the
correcting
same
you,
guy.
bro.
No, I'm offended. No, same guy, but he played Eggsy in the first two Kingsman movies. He was the lead.
Yeah.
And he's not in the third movie.
It was a star-making performance for him, the original Kingsman, because nobody knew who he was before that.
No one knew. And so this kind of hints towards what was speculated before, that we're going to get almost a prequel to Colin Firth in the beginning days, 1970s, 1980s. Yeah. And of the beginning Kingsman days. And it's cool. It's a cool idea, but at this point we're more attached to Taron Egerton at this point.
Why would you cut some... Like, fair enough if they're going to do it after the third movie, but strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is a good new franchise.
Let's keep it going.
Are enjoying. Yeah. They're enjoying the characters within the films. They're enjoying the crazy violence.
Making money as well.
And it's funny.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a lot of Hollywood films that mesh all of those factors together naturally.
And some of that is the charm of the director, who I'm forgetting.
Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn, yeah. He was also directed... No, it is Matthew Vaughn. He also directed First Class, X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
And if he's not a part of the third one, I will be even heartbroken. Is he definitely
because Taron said we're on first name basis.
I'm
basically trying to stay away from the second name.
All right, we'll just say Taron.
T-Dog.
So Taron, T-Dog.
Right, so Taron basically said, I'm going to try and say this with a straight face. He said, I believe it was on Instagram, or maybe I read it on Instagram. He said to the press today that it was the director's decision. It was Matthew Vaughn's decision to leave him out. He says, I've not left the franchise. It's just the director's decision for this film, which is a big risk.
Well, it's a risk, but maybe there's a story idea there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But our boy Taron, we love you, man.
I know. He's playing Elton John next year, so...
Elton John, he's got Robin Hood, which is coming out now as well. You got interesting things that are going to be coming out soon. And so, I'm excited to see what we're going to do with Kingsman. I'll still, like I said, with all this news, we're still going to be there on the first day watching that.
Yeah,
okay?
100%.
And now, to cap off the show, we've got an exciting movie that comes out next week. We've got Widows, which has Octavia Spencer in it, Michelle Rodriguez, Liam Neeson, John Bernthal. I'm not even going to remember all the names.
There's
about
a lot of
10
good people in that movie.
And this movie looks entertaining as hell.
It's an Oscar bait movie.
Definitely. Well, when you got a director like Steve McQueen behind,
he loves an ensemble as well, doesn't he?
He loves a bit.
He's not trying to make anyone the highest paid actor in the room. He's not giving anyone the star treatment. Everyone's the same.
And here's the thing. With a writer like Gillian Flynn, who also wrote Gone Girl and Sharp Objects, which is on TV right now with Amy Adams, there's a lot of good things that's got going for it right now. It's about this group of ladies whose husbands are all thieves. They're all, not murderers, I would say, but, they'll murder people they have to, you know what I mean? And so they were all doing this one final job, and then the widow's husbands, who are now dead, they died doing a mission, which is supposed to be the last one, so that their wives and their families could, live happily ever after, which you really can't be saying about thieves and murderers. That's bad. We're not condoning.
No.
You know what I mean? But it's about these widows overtaking the jobs of these guys, of these thieves. And I'm interested. It looks interesting. We got Octavia Spencer, Michelle Rodriguez. My main thing is, going into it, I don't want it to feel like all these actors don't get enough screen time together.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that I have with Ocean's 13, which came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
It's a problem with a lot of ensemble movies. The only one I can think of where it's not been a complete fail was Infinity War.
And Bad Times at the El Royale.
I've still not seen that.
That was awesome.
But we got that issue right there. I'm looking forward to this movie, though. It looks entertaining. It looks Oscar baity. Which, hey, bait me all the Oscars. I don't care.
And this is the global release this weekend because no reviews have leaked or anything.
No.
So.
Well, I think they've been really trying to. I think a few reviews have come out, and they've been positive.
Really positive.
Very positive. I think on the Metascore right now, it's at about 90 or maybe 88 out of 100, which is insane.
Amazing.
For a movie.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going to happen with that. I'm excited. I know a lot of our viewers are looking forward to it as well. Make sure you're following us on the Twitter because we are putting out the trailers for that. Any news that's coming out recently. So make sure you're doing that. And I think that wraps up for the show, Jamal.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything, isn't it, man?
There we go. So follow us at Real Talk Keys on Twitter. And make sure you guys subscribe because if you're not subscribed and you do have a head, what are you doing?
I know, exactly.
Why aren't you watching it?
I hope you enjoyed the reviews as well because we're starting to try and
see as many as possible.
Yeah, so we can up the reviews. We know we did 4 reviews today.
Yeah.
Next week we might do 10. No,
yeah, we're crazy. Not. We like talking about movies on the movie show. So we're going to try and get more. We've got movie reviews for The Grinch hopefully next week. The Outlaw King. And whatever else comes out. There's so many things. And Widows, yes. We'll get all that out to you guys next week then, yeah?
Right. Thank you so much for watching.
Until next time, guys. Goodbye.